My absolute...
Sorry.
That's all
I
right.
think I pressed that earlier. Yeah.
Got it button. Yeah, so thank you for inviting me. So, I mean, should I just like explain how I got to where I am today and just take it from there? Chloe, I can ramble, so can you keep an eye on the chat box, because I might not be looking at it.
That's fine. And if you have questions, guys, that pop up,
yeah,
I will make a note of them and we'll have like a Q&A at the end. So dial chat for sort of 30, 40 minutes and then we can ask any questions at the end for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, historically, I was very much entrenched in the corporate background, and I just knew that I couldn't do that job for much longer. So I left, and if I fast forward a few years, I went on my own personal journey of learning how to release trapped trauma within the body that I'd been living with for too long, really. And within that journey, it took me on to a curiosity of working with vibrational sound therapy, which I will explain a little bit later, because I've got like some little bits to show you. Now, not long after I qualified in 2013 working with sound therapy, my husband and I adopted our son. So my son, when we adopted him, was 2.5 years. And you can imagine, you're massively excited to be parents. 2.5-year-old walks through your door, and my gosh, it was like a whirlwind. And that is where the true journey began, because everything that we believed to be true in terms of medical reports, etc., there was a lot more behind the story that we hadn't necessarily had shared with us. So within 6 weeks, I was saying to a social worker, I think he needs to see an occupational therapist, because I just sensed that something was happening, but I didn't know what. You know something's going on with your child, but you don't know. I was trying to get used to being a mum, and oh my gosh, it was a complete whirlwind. So it took me on a huge journey where I've learned a lot around sensory processing differences, neurodiversity, my son's on the spectrum, and social phobia, social anxiety. So there's a lot going on, and also early childhood trauma as well, especially a lot of stuff related to birth. So what it did was it led me into a real passion of trying to understand how sound can actually help work with the brain, the nervous system, and trauma, which has led me to developing programs and workshops for parents and children. Now, my journey is always very much about evolving and learning. So not only do I specialise in working with vibrational sound therapy, and plus my own experiences with a son and juggling everything that we do as a mum and living with it day to day, because I can really relate to how a lot of the challenges come around. I've done a lot of studying around, like I said, neurodiversity, understanding autism, intrusive thoughts, brain trauma, recovery, OCD. I'm just trying to think what else I've done. Anxiety, panic attacks, the neuroscience of addiction recovery. There's lots. I could go on, but I won't, because it just get boring. But it's just to say that I'm very committed and evolved in the learning that I'm doing. So within that, what I do is I work with adults, helping them to gain an understanding around their trauma and how to gain control of their emotions and their lives in a healthier way. I work with children and parents, which we're going to be focusing on more in a minute, because I think that's where the main interest probably is for tonight. So through my journey with my son, I've come across, we've experienced a lot of challenges. We've been on a real roller coaster of a journey. And within that, The things that really have come up for me are around how children can cope with their emotions, so emotional regulation, resilience, and relaxation. And that enabled me, as I looked into that and merging both aspects of my work, which I deem conventional and non-conventional, I merge it all together. I created workshops and programs. So these help children to regulate their emotions, learn how to relax, and develop an awareness around like the self-regulation element, which a lot of our children, if you're a parent to a child with neurodiversity, can struggle with, especially the emotional regulation. And I also work with parents under something called the Parenting Paradigm Program. Now, the reason I created that is when we have children who are, you know, within the neurodiverse, our days can be really full on from beginning to end, and sometimes it doesn't even finish at bedtime. And, you know, we've only got to be a little bit tired or have something else going on in our lives, and everything is so much more harder, so much more challenging. But what I've realised is when I've been working with children is that parents also could do with a lot of support as well. And through unresolved trauma, they're actually struggling in the day-to-day stuff with their own child. So an example would be if you have a child with, say, ADHD and they are extremely active, or even sensory processing where they're extremely active, especially when they're younger and they're like bouncing off the walls. You know, if you're tired that day, you're going to be finding it a little bit more challenging. But if you've got some unresolved trauma and that is constantly triggering you with your child, that is going to make the relationship and navigating it so much more challenging. So I also work with parents holding basically just a space for us to explore, you know, anything that they've got going on and how that may interact with their child, to see if they can change their perspective and interact in a different way. And when we're parents to our children, it's not always easy finding that space. You know, I don't know about any of you, you know, but I've locked myself in the bathroom before, you know, just to get those 5 minutes of time. So that's what I do as well, is I also support parents. Now, the Parenting Paradigm Program I can do online. When I work with children, I work from age 10 years and up. So it extends into teenagers and young people. With the children, I do tend to work more face-to-face. However, I can work with a parent online and help that parent to support their child online, if that makes sense. So if you're at a distance, there are things that we can do to work. I'm very flexible and adaptable in how I work, because I think, you know, every family is different. You know, I also offer family sessions. There's a lot that I offer because one size doesn't fit all. And that's really important, I think, when, you know, we have neurodiverse children and the impact that it also has on our families, because it's not always necessarily the easiest, and it can put strains on our relationships as well. You know, a lot of families can be at breaking point. So one of the things that I work with when I work with children is we work with sounds. Now, I work with tuning forks, chime pipes, and gongs. Now, I don't know if in the chat box, if anyone can just give me a little hands up or anything, if they're familiar with vibrational sound therapy or tuning forks, to give me a little indication. Me, excellent. Someone is, brilliant. Anyone else? Yay, yay. Excellent. Okay, brilliant. Sound healer, brilliant. Okay, training currently, yes. Wow, so we have a lot of experienced people on here, which is amazing. Brilliant. Okay, so I wanted to go through the 2 tuning forks tonight. There's 2 types of tuning forks. Now, if I show you this one first, see how much you can see on my little box. If I hold it up like this tuning fork is what I call weighted. And on the tip, this has got like a crystal, it's a rose quartz tip. I don't know how well you can see this. Now what it has is it's got weights on the end. So if you strike it here, I don't know, you might be able to see a vibration or not. Zoom is not the greatest for this type of demo. Or trying to listen to the sound. You won't hear the sound for this one. This tuning fork you place on the body. So you can place it on the hand, on the chest, anywhere that a child will find it relaxing. Now, the benefits of working with this is a lot of children who may do, I don't know if any of you may have children who do humming or anything like that, who are sound seekers. They will really enjoy this type of tuning fork because it replicates the humming, which is what they are actually looking for. Because the humming, the vibration, which is going directly into the body, is a soother for them. But what it's doing is it's regulating a dysregulated nervous system. It reduces the cortisol levels within the body and it stops them from going into fight, flight, or freeze mode. Something so simple, but it's massively, highly effective. For my son, he actually enjoys it on the feet. So, you know, if you think of reflexology, you've got certain points. We don't look at the reflexology points. We just do it wherever he feels that he needs it. But it's really relaxing, especially before bedtime. And there's another tuning fork as well, which I use. If I just get this one out. Now, I'm not going to strike it because it's going to sound awful on Zoom. But literally, you would just hit the tip and you listen. Now, what you do is this sound will go on and on and on. This particular frequency, because I work with many, is very low. So it's very soothing, very grounding. And as you strike it, you wait for the sound to finish and then you repeat it again for the other ear. Now, I call this rhythm and repetition. And what you are doing is you are entraining the brain to listen to the sound, which stops focusing on the trigger that may be happening, which is anxiety, stress, overwhelm, anger, anything like that. So it balances the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. And it actually enables them, it trains the brain to stop responding from the emotional part, the amygdala part, and it connects them more up to the prefrontal cortex, the logical part. Now, as with anything, it does take practice and it does take time. But what I find is that children love working with these, especially neurodiverse children, because a lot of them like to be in control. They like to do their own thing. So if they have like a tuning fork, if they use it in the morning, it's massively beneficial for concentration, clarity and focus and calming them down. If they use it in the evening, it's highly effective at helping them to relax. They can use it at any time throughout the day. The best time to use it is when they are calm, because that is when the brain is going to be much more responsive to knowing, okay, I'm calm, sound is working, brilliant. It does work after the event of if they have a moment and they want to go to the tuning fork afterwards to help them calm down. But you're much more effective working with the brain when it's calm, rather than like as preventative, rather than an after event measure. I don't know if that makes sense for anybody. Yeah. I'm just going to check my notes because I made loads of notes and I've not stuck to any of it. I've just completely rambled, talking about something completely different, as you do at this time. I was
going to ask, Di, Maria's asked, is it a C and a G? Because she uses tuning forks on herself, but not, I don't think, on her son. So, yeah.
Okay, so the frequencies that I would start to work with, the tuning forks that I work with initially, you want something quite low for them. If you've got quite high frequency, that's going to send them more up rather than down. We want to bring these children down and into their bodies, regulating the nervous system. So you want a low frequency. I work very much with the frequency, which is 136.1 0.10, which is amazing. And you can get that in a weighted tuning fork as well. So you remember the one that goes on the body. Also, the one that I showed you is 111 hertz, which again is very low, but very highly effective. What we want to be doing with the children is helping them to come into the bodies, ground down, and take them out of fight, flight, or freeze mode. So some of them might like the high frequencies, but you may find that could potentially escalate them a little bit more.
And just a question I was thinking of, Di. So say if somebody comes for sound therapy, how does it work? So if I brought my son, or if I came myself, and you said that when you put the forks on you, it grounds you and it takes your focus away from the crazy and you just zoom in, then how often do you need to do, how does it work in terms of repetition, how often you come, and then sort of the long-term picture? Because obviously you don't go every day for 3 years, do you? So no, exactly. How does it work with the brain pattern and recognizing and just keeping?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, when I work with people under the program, so what I've done is I wrote programs which are like 6 week, 5 to 6 week programs. Well, should I say sessions? But what I like to do is try and keep them as close together for momentum for the children. But what I realised is that not everyone can do the program, so I also did the workshops. But within both of those, they're highly interactive and fun, very visual. So we look at how sound affects our emotions, how our emotions are affecting us, how to take back control of our emotions. We work with the tuning fork in terms of the regulation. There's a relaxation session. We work with chime pipes. We do a whole host of different things. And most parents say to me, my child's never going to do that. They're never going to last. And I'm not a very good timekeeper. It always overruns. And they're just amazed at how quickly the session goes, because the parent benefits as well. Because most of the time, and let's say they're more like 16 or over, we'll have the parent there as well, because it's really important that they understand what's being shown so that they can then support them afterwards. And what you do is you just take the tuning fork and you work with it daily. And what I find is, I've been working with sound for years now. If I was to put a tuning fork up to my ears, within like seconds, my body just goes boom. And it just like zones out, because it's recognizing the sound. Because with sound, we don't just hear sound, we feel sound through the skin. There's lots of different ways of feeling it, which is why it's so effective for neurodiversity. Because a lot of it for these kids is about feeling. And that's what they like. I've had a lot of people come to me who basically parents on their last legs, you know, we won't get into all the different wait lists and times and all that, but, you know, like public health services, round and round, spinning plates, round and round in circles, but not necessarily getting the help that you need. And if you do get the help that you need, it's like, my child's not really responding to this, because they don't always resonate with talking-based therapies. Their brains just aren't equipped to deal with it. What they want is something that's a bit different, that's innovative, snappy, you know, it keeps their attention, lots of different things going on, but also learning how to relax at the same time. And we always do check-ins at the beginning of the session, at the end, and the kids always have come down wherever they started from on like how we check them in. It's just amazing, you know, it's really, really incredible. And that is their measure. That's what I call their measuring point, because they've done a whole session, they've come in, say they're on a red, yeah, because they're like really wobbly, they've had a really like not a great day. And then they do all that work and they go, oh my gosh, now I've come all the way down. So they have the evidence. A lot of children with neurodiversity like facts, they like evidence. They get to see that for themselves, rather than sitting in a room talking. Doesn't work. You know, I've had, if we talk about a couple of, might help if I talk about a couple of like kids that I've worked with. So I had one who wasn't in school and he was really struggling with social media bullying. refused to go to school, was really struggling to get out of bed, basically, quite severe anxiety, self-harming. So his mum brought me for the session, and he would literally sometimes coming in the car be beating himself up in the car. Like, it wasn't a very pleasant journey for her, put it that way. And we did the sessions, and he then was back in school. He stopped self-harming. And as he moved up and into like GCSEs, what he then did was he came back to me for what I call full sound sessions. So we didn't need to do the program work, which is like your core foundational work, which is really important for them. And he would just come, he would lay on the therapy bed, and he would have, you know, like a sound session or a gong session as I started working with gongs. And he went on past his GCSEs, and now he's done his A-levels. You know, so he's working really, really well with it. There was another young person who I worked with. She was coming to she was probably about 15 probably when I started working with her. And her resistance levels were massively high, like really high. She just could not allow herself to relax. So she was on the spectrum, self-harming, very high anxiety levels, not really coping with school again. So we worked through the program, and afterwards she went on again to have sound sessions because she just loved the relaxation side. And she struggled initially with the sound. Now, the sounds that I work with that started with her were very low because everyone's different. And at the end of it, you know, this is starting with, oh, I can just put it up to my ear. So we are talking a full-on gong session, you know, which they're not the quietest. And she absolutely loved it. And she is now in uni, living with other people, socialising. She's got her, what I call her toolkit. You know, she knows how to cope. She knows if she's having a wobble, what to do. She's got a tuning fork, and she uses it. So I don't know if that...
Yeah, what about... Yeah, and what about adults, Di? I mean, obviously, when your child is doing great and they work with you on the parent paradigm to release their trauma, that makes a huge difference. And it's something I need to talk to you about and get booked in. But also, I know that when I was chatting to some of the people about this call tonight, there's a lot of adults who, like me, maybe gone right through their life not knowing they had any neurodiversity. And then all of a sudden, in their 30s and 40s, they get a diagnosis. Yeah. And it's like, oh, so that's what I call it. I say for me, ADHD is having all the tabs open at once. Yes. And you can just flip one more tab and it's like you can't cope because the noise. I say my head's so noisy. I find it very noisy. I find it very difficult in groups. I'd much rather talk one-to-one with somebody and have their full attention. What about sound therapy for, you know, adults who've been around the block, you know, and are dealing with a new diagnosis, still working things out for themselves, and also probably have trauma looking back at kind of what they've had to go through to learn the techniques to cope, as it were?
Yeah, absolutely. It works. It is highly, highly effective, even with a brain that is spinning really, really fastly. It helps you to, it's like, imagine like driving a Ferrari, sound helps you put the brakes on. It's like, I've seen people who can't close their eyes. They just can't allow themselves to do that. And within 10 to 15 minutes of working with the sound, their eyes are closed. And they've not done that in any other session. And that's not me. That's not an ego thing. It is just sound is effective and it works. And if you play the sound for someone, their body is just going to calm down. It's how it works. It can't work any other way. There's lots of different frequencies that you can work with for releasing trauma, which we do. I've got lots of different ways of working with people. So it's not just you come for a sound session. I give you coping stuff. There's mentoring. There's lots of things that happen in the parenting paradigm program, and another one that I run for adults as well who don't want the child aspect, you know, attached to it, because not everybody does. But it just works.
I've got a question, Di, because I'm just aware, like, we're at 9 o'clock now, it's crazy. And I want to open it up for questions and stuff for people. So another 10 minutes or something. But how does, because I know when we were talking, you're like, I like to try and explain it because it sounds a bit woo-woo for people who aren't necessarily, you know, people are quite new to natural well-being and stuff like that. I remember when I first went to see my practitioner and he started doing tuning forks, and a friend of mine went, he just started laughing. He was like, it was so weird for me to have this guy like over me, and he was like, it was sort of a bit awkward. It's quite out there. How does sound therapy work? Because he swears by it. He lectures all over the world with it. It's so powerful, and it's coming to the forefront now. People understand tuning forks and stuff. How does it work in terms? Because we talked about, because Di's a client of mine and uses the products, and we talked about, I said, why do you use them? She said, because they're just optimal vibration. They are, you know, putting the good stuff in to raise your vibration.
Yeah.
Why? How do things work? Why can you put them against our food capsules and know it's a high vibration? How does it work in terms of your health, your well-being? What happens with sound frequencies in the brain?
Yeah. So, okay, there was a lot of questions there. so if we backtrack a little bit, just in case people, you know, just to do a little bit of an explanation around energy. Okay, so all energy has a vibration, and all vibration has a frequency. This is where we're getting into the realms of science and quantum physics, okay? So everything is energy, even though you can't see it, okay? Sometimes you can see energy, you know, like lightning and things like that. You see the physical element of energy, but other times you can't, or you just feel it, okay? So at this moment, all of us, our bodies are resonating at a specific frequency. Okay, so our brain, cells, bodies, organs, everything is oscillating at a frequency. So it's like we have our own like little sound orchestra going on. When we have an emotion, it takes energy for an emotion, and it takes energy to suppress an emotion. And when we suppress energy, it gets stuck within the body. Okay, and if we're unable to release that stuck energy, I call it like an energetic distortion, then it can manifest in, you know, illness or disease, because our body needs to talk to us. So we need to be maintaining a really high vibration, and to do that, we need to be looking at stuck emotions, unresolved trauma. And as we do that and we can release it, we're actually raising our vibration. You know, I love the capsules because for me, they're very high frequency, high vibrational. And that's why I would choose to use them. For me, it's all high vibration, you know. So a really easy way to explain it is if you think of like an orchestra, and it's playing a beautiful symphony, and then an instrument goes out of tune. Okay, that's not only going to affect the symphony being played, but it affects the whole orchestra working as a team. You want your body working at its optimal. Okay, if you can maintain your vibration, you're going to be operating a lot better on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, you're going to get less stressed, less tired. You're going to know that something's going on. You're going to be able to step back and have an awareness. So with sound, a very easy way of explaining it is, I don't know if anyone's heard of, right, well, I'll give two examples. Sympathetic resonance. So sympathetic resonance is when you place one vibrating object next to another. If there's something within your body that is like dissonant and isn't at the right frequency, the right frequency comes in and it raises your frequency. So it's raising your vibration and it's clearing energetic density and distortion within the physical body. Now, when that happens, that switches on what we call photons within the cellular structure. And when photons switch on, it actually connects you on a much more deeper conscious level. So that's going quite into the science, which is quite late for this time of night, I know, but there is a lot of science attached behind this. And another really simple way of explaining it is if you think of like an opera singer, yeah, the frequency of their voice can match the frequency of a glass and shatter it. that is where you've got sympathetic resonance. That's a really good example. So the sound can come in and shatter it. I mean, sound is pioneering. You know, they're doing work at the moment. You know, sound can shatter cancer cells. They're doing keyhole surgery with sound with cancer, so that they don't have to open the whole body. Is very, very finely tuned. And that's why I like working with the tuning forks, because for me, they're precision instruments. You can really hone in on what needs to take place, really. Does that help to explain?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I was actually fortunate enough to speak to one of the leading natural cancer doctors in Mexico, actually, in regards to my mum's blood cancer. And he treats everything with light, oxygen, sound, nutrition. And it's that whole, you know, like you use the nutritional aspect that I do. I want to do the sound therapy. I just think it's all the pillars, isn't it? But our bodies are so, they just need, I always say it's like sanding the edges on the body. And when you were talking about the orchestra, that really resonated, because you talk about that in terms of nutrition and food as well. But when you said that if there's something wrong, you know, it sort of jumps out. I see my eldest actually, like the orchestra is all playing different tunes and they're kind of actually jumping out of their seats. That's how I feel. So I'm really excited to work with you, actually, because I think just, yeah, bringing it back in and just bringing that harmony into play.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, like when I work with much younger, you know, like the younger kids or the teenagers, the parents are there. So effectively the parents are zoning out anyway and getting the session. You know, like I remember the mum with the child who, you know, struggled with the car journey. She was like, oh my God, she says, like, it's just bliss being in your room. She said, I have a whole hour where I don't have to think. I know everything's really calm. And they both go home. They have a nice car journey home, you know? So,
amazing. Yeah. So I was going to say, so a couple of questions. Tuning forks, how low is low for grounding and relaxation for kids? Found 2 at 36 and 96 HZ. Any good?
I would start maybe a little bit higher. What I say is that all children are different. So I'd probably go more, you could either, I know that the 136.10, the tuning fork, works really, really well. And it's really good for grounding. So like when I run the programs and the workshops, the kids get to experiment with different frequencies, so you can see what they're like resonating to, because like I said, they're all different. But I know that works, so I'd probably say I'd go for that one. The other ones might be a little bit too low.
Shan was asking, is it linked to, when you were talking about sound therapy and everything, is it linked to the aura, to the auric field?
Yeah, so I call it the biofield. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we work with that as well. Yeah, definitely. And another thing that I do is I actually show parents how to work with tuning forks a lot more deeper with their energy if they was interested in that. And then they could do more in-depth work with their children as well. It's not from a therapist to therapist perspective. It's more, I show you as a parent and for your friends and family. I'm very big on self-empowerment. You know, I love giving people tools and techniques, and obviously supporting them, but very big on self-empowerment.
That's awesome.
Everyone has their own journey.
Well, it's that saying, isn't it, from the Bible about, you know, teach a man to fish and he'll feed himself forever. But people are asking, so obviously with what you do, I mean, you're half an hour from me, so I can just come in with the boys and see you. We've got people from Pennsylvania who can't just hop on a flight, especially with COVID, come and see you for a quick session. So if you can train people how to use the tuning forks, that would be something very empowering that I would love to do for myself, for my kids, you know, things like that. Jeanette said, have you got any good links of where people could buy sort of, you know, like your starter kit of tuning forks, and then maybe they can reach out to you and do a workshop with you on how to use them, or where do you get them from?
Well, I get a wholesale stockist, you see, so people normally, clients buy them from me, but I would say have a good old Google, because you can get some really good prices even on Amazon. You know, so have a look. Prices are a little bit more expensive now because of Brexit, especially if they're coming in from overseas. That's the only thing. But have a look. If you Google tuning fork and put the frequency in, you'll get quite a lot of hits, and you can probably get quite a good deal.
Can they do it through your stockist though, via you? Because obviously I'd be really keen to share, because I mean Di's got a YouTube channel and she posts in there a lot. She provides a lot of great content, so definitely, you know, Di, if we can share your YouTube channel, how to connect with you and reach out. And you talked about a free ebook as well that you have.
Yeah, so the best resource, like main resource to go to, is my website, because that's got links for all of my social media. And there is a tab, like a menu tab on the website, which just says free. And that is a free ebook, which is 10 frequency tips to raise your vibration. Just to get people started, really, which covers lots of different things, you know, just from drinking enough water to healthy nutrition. I think there's about 10 tips in there. Yeah, so I would say website, that's got my email on there, my phone number, and it's just one link. Just click on that and see what you think. The only thing I would say is that with the website, I'm like in the process of updating a lot of it with packages and programs. And so if you do have a look at it, you'll see Parenting Paradigm. If you're looking for the children's stuff, it's probably under Science, Sound, Mindfulness. But that soon will be called Emotional Regulation, Resilience and Relaxation, because I'm just like vamping it up, because I've added lots more to it.
Okay, that's awesome. I have just posted in the chat box the link to our private Facebook group, because this has been put into there. But tomorrow I'll be sharing Di's, all of her contact details. But if we've connected on Facebook Messenger, I can send you that as well. But if you want to come into the group, it's private. So just request to come in via that link, and we can accept you and come and take a look around at what we do, because we do talks like this a lot. And that way you can get all of Di's information too. Yeah, and does anyone have any questions as well? And those watching on Facebook, a lot of people on Facebook have said, oh my God, I think I need some sound therapy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's obviously resonated a lot.
Yeah, I do offer, you know, if anyone's interested, I do a free discovery call, because I know that everyone works differently, you know, and people might want to talk more, you know, one-to-one, more privately. So, yeah.
Amazing. Shan says, do you only work with children over 10? My son is 6, has Reiki sessions previously, which he absolutely loved.
Mm-hmm. I can work with children under 10, and I have done, yeah, so I can do that. I say like from 10 and above, but if I speak to a parent and I feel that I'm able to help, then I will. Yeah, definitely.
Great. Lots of people saying thank you, especially on the Facebook. Great to listen to. Thank you so much for introducing me to this whole topic. Thanks, Cindy. No, it's amazing. Is there anything finally that you wanted to cover, Di, that we've left off? I mean,
do you know, Chloe, it's so funny, because like I said, I had all these notes and I've not stuck to any of it.
It's always like that though.
I'm always the same. I just ramble. Yeah, I would just say that I find it really effective, like for my son, and we've been through a huge journey, and we still are, you know. He is my advocate for my business. He's the one who makes me want to do more, want to help people, want to just excel. It isn't work to me. When I do this, it's the word work just doesn't enter into it. It's just passion and purpose. And I'm just here to, help people if they feel that I can. Yeah. And actually, it's not even helping. It's just sharing what I know. And I'm a big believer that it's a two-way thing. Like even when I work with the kids, I always say to them, you know, there's no better than, less than. I share what I know, and I will learn from you as well. It's very much equal territory.
That's lovely. Maria said, I'm very moved to hear this. It's why I think the spirit led me into sound to support my child. Yeah. And I think anyone working in the health and wellbeing space does it out of passion and does it out of a desperate need to want to help other people and pay it forward. You know, if you have all this knowledge, Di, why would you not share it with the world, you know, because it can help so many people. So
definitely.
Amazing. Well, we've got the recording of this. I missed off the beginning bit. That's only me. It's in the Facebook Live. Come into our Facebook group. It's, as I said, a private community, lots and lots of tips and health. And it's a broad church of what we cover, of all the pillars. And Di, you know, we need to make sure that we get your website out there and stuff. So please send me all your details. Everyone that I've messaged on Facebook, I will send you the details. Yes, and how do they find you on YouTube? Or
sorry,
how do they find you on YouTube or your
all
website?
on the website. All on the website. There's links on there. Yeah, that's what I mean. Rather than just post a load of links, if you just go to the website, it's all there.
Give us the website again. I'm just going to put it in the boxes.
So it'll be www.vibrationalsoundtherapy.co.uk. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You're an absolute angel.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone who came on tonight. It was amazing. Over 30 people tuning in. So and thank you, because all different time zones as well. So well done, you heroes, making it work. But thank you, Di.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Lovely.
Thank you,
well
Di.
done.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you, Chloe. Bye now.
Bye, guys. My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.